Hey guys, more on the video on the Inside Spurs channel. Happy Sunday morning to you all. Hope you're all right. Hope you are all okay. And you've all recovered from watching PSG last night absolutely decimate Inter Milan. We'll be talking about the Super Cup final, the day, and obviously PSG as a whole. Feels weird to say all that stuff, but we are going to. We're going to talk about Leroy Sane and Spurs' supposed increasing confidence that they can sign the German international. We're talking about Ben Davies potentially leaving on a free, Ryan Mason taking over at West Brom. Multiple conflicting reports surrounding Ange's future. There's quite a bit of stuff to get into. I'm looking forward to this video, to be fair, but I think there's so much to get into this morning. But yeah, hope everyone's all right and hope everyone's okay. Morning, Dragon, Spurs, Callum, AJ, Al Dante, Adventurous, how are we all? Hope we're all right. So yeah, really quickly, PSG last night obviously decimating Inter Milan in what can only be described as the most one-way game I've ever seen. That was incredible, seeing Luis Enrique manage them, nearly became Spurs manager. Seeing Desiree Doué playing for them, nearly became a Spurs player last summer. Pacho at centre-back, someone we've been linked to for a very long time. Kvara, nearly signed him a long time ago. So many players in that PSG group, Spurs near enough signed or had them manage them. But no, it's a fantastic result for them. Obviously, now looking forward to the Super Cup. August 13th is the Super Cup game against PSG. And it's an early start. So when we talk about transfers, the idea is very much now getting things done early, allowing players to adjust, allowing players to find their feet, learn the system, build up fitness. All of that will go on to that game in about what? Call it 2.5 months' time. So, yeah, well done to PSG last night. They're incredible. Been watching them play a lot this season, and that was no shot in terms of what they can do. But, yeah, and commiserations to Inter Milan. And obviously, very much now looking at Inzaghi, we'll probably know more about Inzaghi's future in the next couple of days. But I do kind of think he's Saudi bound. The money is just incredible. I think he is going to Saudi Arabia. Good morning to the rest of you that have said good morning. There's quite a few of you. All right, but good morning to you. Let's talk about Leroy Sane because, yeah, I mean, this feels like of all the transfers that we've been linked to, it's the loudest. It's the most prevalent. Again, he's going on a free, so things can be spoken about at will, basically, now. But Santiago Una putting out that Spurs are increasingly confident in signing Leroy Sane. Spurs are the most serious candidate from England for Sane right now. Bayern Munich have improved their offer, but no decision yet. I very much still think he's staying at Bayern Munich, by the way. I very much think he's staying at Bayern Munich. And I very much think Spurs are getting their name in and around there, not for their sake. I think the Leroy Sane camp have probably offered Leroy Sane to many a team in the Premier League, right? And I think they're using Spurs' name to drive a better deal with Bayern Munich. That's the feeling that I'm getting on this Leroy Sane deal. I just don't see it. Of all the things, regardless of how you feel on player style, does he suit Spurs? I just very much look at it financially. He's going to be earning way more than all of our other players. Spurs don't do that. Spurs would be breaking their wage structure for him. Spurs don't do that. So that's why I just can't see it. But I do see him staying at Bayern Munich. I do see that because it just makes too much sense. And I just very much think his camp are... And when we talk about people like Radu Dragic, by the way, and his agent, and people get annoyed about how loud he is. He's only doing his job. His job is to drive, his market up, get a better contract. This is what agents do to keep their client's name in the media positively. So Leroy Sane, it's being really loud, them saying, oh, Arsenal interested, and and Arsenal still are interested apparently, but Spurs are interested, he's been linked to like Chelsea probably, no doubt. it wouldn't shock me if he was linked to teams in Spain, maybe. And I did a video not long ago on Fabio Paratici at Juventus, which, by the way, I'm going to look to do a Johan Lang at an Aston Villa one, by the way, to give you a nice heads up on how their time was before Spurs, so you get a bit of a balance. I think he's saying a Bayern. I really, really do. It's I think Bayern are going to have a bit of a clear out. And yes, maybe on the face of things, this would be an easy one. Just look, we're going to save, 250 grand a week on him or whatever it is. We'll be able to move straight on and get someone else in. But I just think Spurs are getting used. Now, are Spurs in there? I think they could be, yeah. But I don't see us getting him, to be honest. Not at all. Morning, Sean. Road to 4K subs. Appreciate it, Kamagoo, mate. Yeah, we're very much on the way to 4K subs. Very much on the way, which when I see that number 4 pop up, that's going to be really cool. But yeah, I think Sane will stay at Bayern personally. I just can't, just financially, that's all I can say. Financially, I just cannot see it. So expensive. So expensive, So yeah, not sure on that one personally. Ryan Mason, I want to go to there. Ryan Mason, it looks like Ryan Mason will be taking over at West Brom this summer to become their manager. If it happens, obviously, congratulations, Ryan. It's a phenomenal first job in football. When you think, I'm not sort of thinking about, his few weeks in charge of Spurs. This is his first true managerial role. It's a fantastic situation to find yourself in, a team that is fighting for the playoffs and the championship. One good season, they could be back in the Premier League, and Ryan Mason looks like a genius for it. West Brom, don't panic. They in terms of they're happy to spend a bit of money. They've got a bit of money to spend, and I think Mason will do well there. I really do. I also look at, selfishly, as the Spurs man that I am, shocking, I know, I look at Mason at West Brom. I look at Davies at Birmingham, both being, first team coach and assistant manager last season. The season gone before the last one, but also then this one as well for Mason. I very much look at those two teams and go, let's try and get a lone player there, or even two. We've talked about, what happens with Phillips. Phillips at West Brom, playoff hunt side, that could potentially be something. We've talked about Ajayi, Donnelly, Keeley. I think Abbott will go League One. I think Matthew Craig probably League One again. There's an opportunity there for a lot of those players. To get really solid minutes at a really solid club, and that's kind of how I look at it. I think Birmingham can spend money this summer. Obviously, he's one of their owners, Tom Brady. I think, it's an opportunity for Spurs to use those clubs in a good way. Everyone wins out of it. The player does well, benefits club who do better. We benefit in the long run because our player has developed. I think it's an opportunity. I really, really do think it's an opportunity for Spurs there. I also think when you look at the championship as a whole, I want to see more of our youngsters in the championship. I think we've been really good, actually, and fortunate in the championship recently. Phillips playing an ungodly amount of football last year. Solomon was, fantastic for Leeds, drove up his value by probably about 6-7 million. I think Devine he obviously had 6 months at Plymouth, not last season before. He's had time in the Belgian Super League, which is obviously a Jupiter League, I think it's called. Very good, solid league that. I just think it's an opportunity, really. Let's see what Lancashire probably has on loan. I don't think he'll go back to West Brom. Obviously, he was there this season. I don't know if Spurs truly trust West Brom at the moment due to that. So Mason probably has to mend those bridges, but it's an opportunity to get more minutes there. Morning, Sophia, mate. How are you? So yeah, we'll sort of see. No, I don't think Inzaghi will be joining Spurs. I believe Inzaghi will go to Saudi. I think he goes to Saudi. Everton are after Solomon. Yeah, Everton have been after Solomon for a little while now. So you got Everton, you got Leeds. I believe Marseille are the three main teams that I've heard about. that are after Solomon. Obviously, Spurs cash in on Højbjerg this summer to Marseille. That becomes officially done. 12, I think it's 12 and a half, right, raising to 17 and a half, something within that realm. You would expect probably the 17 and a half to be achieved over 2 years. So let's call it 5 million over 2 years. The 4K member receive a free bottle of summer fruit squash. I don't know about that. I might end up drinking it myself. Yeah, we might do a little giveaway if we get to 4K. Maybe we'll do, something like that. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, no, there's going to be money coming into the club because of easy sales. Solomon's an easy sale. Højbjerg's obviously a done sale. We'll get that sorted, So, yeah, a lot to be going in there. Yeah, I agree, Caleb. Mason, a lot of experience. PSG Spurs 8-0. You mean 08? We're going to win 8-0. Yeah, we're going to win 8-0. Hey, Alan, mate, how are you? Can't believe Phillips is only 20. Yeah, he's had, I mean, you got to think he was at Blackburn. He's had 6 months. No, he had a season at Plymouth, am I right? Or he had a season because Devine had 6 months. I'm pretty sure. And then obviously he's had a whole year at Stoke. So, there you go. Do you think we get 20 million for Solomon? No, we won't. Unless it's like add-ons and things like that. 15 million is kind of where I'm thinking. Any word on Bissouma and Richie? No, not Bissouma's a quiet one yet. I think with Biss, there'll be teams in and around the Premier League. I mean, apparently Amadou Onana might be going to Saudi, to Al Hilal. Would Villa go for a Bissouma? He feels like a weird move for him, and they might do it. I don't think Brighton would come back for him. I don't think Brighton will come back for him. I've always thought Ligue 1. I've always thought the French league would be great for Bissouma, So yeah, and Richie, I just think Everton. There's been those reports. So I think Everton. I always have the honor of becoming the first channel member of the best up and coming Spurs stream. Well, Adente, mate, I haven't got a drink to toast you with, but I appreciate you, legend. I've got under Andy's skin. No, you haven't. You could never do it, Steve. You can never do it. Yeah, so I think probably, obviously, the transfer market, by the way, has opened. It's open for about 10 days. It then shuts for 6 days and then reopens properly. I would say it should pick up probably the next few days. Not in terms of Spurs signing someone, but you would expect more rumours to come out, especially with Fabio Paraschi being around, leaking stuff to the Italian press. I'm just refreshing Italian reporters, to be honest, because they're going to have stuff. DiMarzio has talked about Ange, which I'm going to come to in a second. It wouldn't surprise me if Lungari was doing something, So the Italian press are looking at Spurs going, great, we've got loads coming out of Spurs now because Fabio's going to be back there in about a month's time. It's about July 1st, isn't it, that Fabio's back? So, yeah. Biss to Palace. I don't know if Biss would do Palace because of his Brighton links. Swap Ollie Watkins for Bissouma. No, we as much as you might. God, I just saw that Fenerbahce had agreed a deal for a guy called Amadou, and I was thinking, no way is Onana going there. Moving on, though. Moving on. Because we have more. We have more. Come on. I want to talk about this quickly. I don't really know what the situation is. I think we'll know more in the next couple of weeks. But Football Insider saying that Davies to Wrexham on a free may happen if he doesn't get his option picked up. For me, it's like it's look, I don't know if there's anything in that. I do very much think Davies could be leaving this summer. I don't know if it'll be to Wrexham, but I do think he could be leaving this summer. It's one of those that he's been around at Spurs now for a very, very long time. His natural position is no longer probably his strongest position, especially in Ange system. I think it's just the right time. I do. I think he's not going to get any better. He is on the decline now. And I think every game here and there, you think he's solid. But when in our situation where sometimes he's got to play 4, 5, 6, 7 games in a row, he's also somewhat injury prone himself. I very much just think not cash in, but just make it easy. You've got such a busy summer this summer with outgoings and incomings, loan deals to sort out, contracts to sort out with Bentancur. I always think of them as quick wins. And Davies going is a quick win. And that's, it suits Davies because he can go and get himself a new club at his own pace, probably get a better deal out of them because the other club aren't having to buy him. So he could probably make a few extra million on his signing on fee. It's just, it's the quick, easy wins. We did it last summer with Sessegnon and Tanganga. And Tanganga, we picked up the option. We probably could have made a few million on him, but it was like, sometimes it's just not worth the hassle. You don't have to spend 3 or 4 weeks negotiating, getting the deal done. Sometimes you go, look, we're going to let you go on a free, get yourself a deal somewhere. Maybe it is Millwall. Millwall will have you back. And look, Millwall, ever since he joined them, Millwall have improved immensely. They nearly got the playoffs this year. When he joined them last, not January, just been the January before on loan, because he was on loan at Augsburg, I think it was in Germany, if I remember correctly, Tanganga. They went from being potentially a relegation team to near mid-table, and now they are obviously close to playoff spots, So sometimes you take the quick, easy wins. If you can move off a player with relative ease, I don't think you're going to make 10, 15, 20 million on Davies. You'd make 2.5 to 5 million. And it's sometimes like, yeah, but the wages you're going to pay in that time, paying out his contract, things like that, you're probably not really making much. So, and there's also, there's something to say about loyalty. There's something to say about, doing something for the player himself. I just think it's one of those quick, easy cash in times in terms of cash in into your time, not money, but cash in on your time. His contract expires in 4 weeks' time. I just think, let him go. Take that squad spot and give it to someone else. And I always think, I always talked about like last summer, you want people to be around for, multiple years. Davies would only be around for one more season and then he'd be done. So just do it, as they say in American football, move off a player one season too early rather than one season too late. This is an opportunity to move off a player at the right time instead of next summer having to deal with this or using his squad spot for another year. It's not worth the hassle. It just isn't worth the hassle. He's been a great servant. It's not denying that, by the way. He's been a great servant at Spurs. I remember when he came in from Swansea, and, I was quite excited because I quite rated his ability at Swansea. He took Neil Taylor's spot as well at Swansea, but it's just time. It is. And I get people's, love for Ben. I do, but you got to think more so as I say, think about more so past the end of your nose. Think about in a year, 2 years, 3 years. He's not going to be here. I'd much rather someone else get his minutes that are going to be here in a year's time. Hell, even if it's Vuskovic or Phillips, I'm going to talk about Vuskovic in a minute, but even if it's Phillips for 6 months, Radu comes back, you're not having to rush Radu back into the team. You might end up moving and grabbing a new centre back. There's a lot that goes in there. So, yeah, I just think it's one of those times. And Wrexham coming up, obviously a lot of fanfare around Wrexham. Is it a great move? But maybe he could do better, but it's definitely not one of his worst moves. So, yeah, it's just time. It's just time. You know what I mean? Time to refresh the squad. Absolutely. Davies is Son's man. He's not going to Wrexham. Maybe go. I don't know. I don't really think there's a link between Modric and Davies, though. So I wouldn't think about that too much. He may want to play football, be a squad member. Yeah, absolutely. Davies in 21 was one of the worst squad players in 25. He isn't. Says a lot about the drop off. Nice bloke, but wouldn't get any. Yeah, the drop off in the squad is alarming. You know, people will somehow people will put that on Ange or something like that, and it's super lazy. But the recruitment that we've had over the last sort of 6 years hasn't been good enough at Spurs in terms of buying players. You know, put that at Paratici's door, put that at Hitchens' door, put that at Johan Lang's door, put it at Daniel Levy's door. It's not been good enough. It hasn't. They rested too much on their laurels on Pochettino's team that, you know, got close to winning things. They rested too much on their laurels. You sell a car before it breaks, not after it breaks. There you go. Davies against PSG. Man of the match performance, mate. Man of the match performance. Dorrington as well, absolutely. Yeah, it's not a great source, Football Insider. I'm just seeing the reports spark up, and it made me just think and chat about Davies. I don't really trust that it's Wrexham, but I do think he's leaving. That's why I'm talking about it. Yeah, Vinay start today, does he? He's already had an impact, trust me. He's not worked at the club, but he was doing all the little things in and around the club with the fans. You can already tell he's doing stuff that, had he not been appointed or soon to be appointed, they wouldn't have done those things. So there you go. Moving on. Still more to talk about. Let's I don't really want to talk about Ange's situation, to be honest. It's just a bit boring, but I'm going to have to. Oh, there was something about Spurs had confidence they'd signed Cherky, but then Man City came in and did the business. So there you go on Cherky. Let's talk about Ange, all right? And, you know, I saw some comments after yesterday's video who were like, you said about a new manager and they would have to take time to build their system and you know, iron out the kinks and the bumps. You lost 22 games. And it was like, so apparently you lose 22 games all in the space of the first sort of 10 games of the season. Is that what you're saying? Like, think about the first 8 to 10 games when you get a new manager or new players. They have to take time, right? Now, the irony when Ange joined, obviously, we had a great 10 games. That's not normal, to be honest, especially with a club who finished 8th the season before. If it was Inzaghi, it's going to take a little while to get going. It just is. So, in that regards, that's what I'm saying, all right? So, before someone jumps down my throat about Ange staying or going, just chill out, all right? Take a time out. Take a time out. Breathe. Okay? Because we've got a few. So, Mike McGrath saying that Ange Postecoglou's future at Tottenham is set to be decided next week. We all knew that. With sources viewing his position as under extreme risk despite winning the Europa League. A nothing report. It was a massive nothing report because, of course, because he's not been officially announced as manager, of course there's risk. So sort of irrelevant that report, to be honest. That's number one. Number two, Football Insider, again, not the greatest of sources, saying that Ange is set to be sacked. He's set to be sacked. The club are pressing ahead with finding a new manager. Announcement about Postecoglou is due in the next few days. Again, not great. And DiMarzio have said the possibility of Ange Postecoglou staying at Tottenham has grown in the last few hours. That's interesting, by the way. Like I said, when we talk about Italian sources, because obviously for Paratici, you know, coming back to Spurs, there is things being leaked to Italian media already. You can already tell. Yeah, with this, it's all a guessing game. It's all a guessing game because no one actually knows. And that's the key thing in this. No one actually knows. And again, the other thing as well, you have to admit, Daniel Levy might not sack him, right? Let's play the hypothetical games here because we've got a few that you can go with. Morning, Paul, by the way. Sorry, I forgot you mentioned you. Let's say Daniel wanted him to stay. Then he doesn't have to say a thing because he's like, well, it's business as usual. He's the manager. Just get on with it. He doesn't need to say a thing. As much as we may think he needs to, he doesn't in theory need to because it wouldn't change, you know. So there's that hypothetical. The hypothetical that he could leave, we knew this week might be the answer in terms of the leak, in terms of, hey, Ange is going to be gone, right? I still think he's going to stay. I still think he's going to stay. And this isn't, by the way, if you're one of those people right now who's got to talk about 22 losses or a Europa League win, I do not care. Flat out, do not care. We're talking hypotheticals. We're talking about different scenarios. So if you're one of those people that goes 22 games, 22 games, 22 games, there's probably some grass outside. Go and touch some. And if you're one of those people that's going to be talking just the Europa League win, again, there's probably some grass outside. I recommend going touching it. Let's talk about the situations. Okay, so there's different scenarios. He could stay, doesn't need any news reporting, doesn't need any leaks from the club. He could be gone. And again, we'll know more in the week. So I thought I was something. It's, irrelevant. If he was to go and we talk managers, okay, so first and foremost, Inzaghi. Try and disregard Inzaghi's game last night. I know it's difficult because it's one of the worst defeats in Champions League final history. Try and disregard it, okay? They kind of threw away the league, I'm going to be honest. 2-1 up, the second to last game of the season to concede late on to draw 2-2. Therefore, Napoli just had to match their result and they were going to win the title. Kind of threw that away. That was last Friday, that one before, right? They had over a week's rest in this game yesterday and got their asses handed to them. But again, you're comparing a team whose revenue they turn over yearly is less than the wage bill at PSG. PSG should have won. Absolutely should have won. They should be the favourites, right? Okay, maybe the league isn't as competitive, but again, when PSG's wages is probably more than most of the revenue of all the Ligue 1 teams, you should win it, right? But that I also think he's going to Saudi. So we're apparently supposed to know like today or tomorrow about Inzaghi. I think he is going to Saudi. I don't think he's even going to stay at Inter. The money in Saudi is 25 million yearly. Spurs, at most, we've paid 15 million, and that was for Conte. I don't think Spurs want to do it again, especially because Spurs love sacking managers. Therefore, you're having to shell out cash because you sack managers every other minute. Inzaghi out. Sorry, I just want to get it in early before Spurs turn on him because he doesn't win 38 of his 38 games. Inzaghi out. Inzaghi out. So I just want to get it in there. Yeah, just want to make sure because he's got to win. He's got to win the quadruple next season. That's the key thing. If he doesn't win the quadruple next season, Spurs fans will turn on him somehow, and it's impressive our level of arrogance. I think as Spurs fans, it's like, well, we should win the Premier League and the Champions League and the FA Cup and League. Why shouldn't we win everything every single season? It's like, well, who? Someone only knows and plays FIFA. You probably don't even win it on FIFA, not even on beginner mode. But Inzaghi would be great in terms of he is a winner. He is a good coach. Like I said, take yesterday's game kind of away from it. He still is a very, very good coach. A lot of Spurs fans want more passion on the sidelines. They want managers to be running up and down the touchline. You'll love Inzaghi. That's his game. Running up and down the dugouts, taking off his jacket, throwing it around. He's that kind of manager, right? But he, regardless of the theatrics, is a very good coach. But I think he goes to Saudi. Thomas Frank, he's another one. I saw DiMarzio saying that Juventus were keen on Marco Silva. I don't know. Maybe I've misread that. Or maybe it's an old report, but I saw something like that. I also don't want Marco Silva personally. You guys might. I'm not a fan. Thomas Frank. He seems like the most likely manager if Ange was to move off of... they were to move off of Ange. He works with a lesser wage bill and transfer budget at Brentford. So Daniel Levy's wet dream. Johan Lang is apparently a very big fan of Thomas Frank. Does Paratici have a say in the new manager? Because Parati's going to go, no, let's go and get an Italian who hates the club. We can't get him. Let's go and get our ninth option, who's the only guy that's going to take it. Them or Gattuso. you know, again, I don't want Fabio Paratici to have any real say in the next manager after last time and how bad that was. I don't really want him to have a say in it. Too much neither Daniel Levy. He's stunk up the gaff every single time, pretty much. Johan Lang, I feel like probably has a say in this. I feel like he's probably got a bit more freedom, a bit more rope to work with on this, in my opinion. He hasn't made that mistake in terms of a manager. People talk about his transfer business. Again, it's super irrelevant. Think about his managerial appointments. He appointed Emery to Villa, and they turned it all around. You can't knock that. So, yeah, it feels like it'll be Frank. That I talked about, a report that came out over a week ago that Brentford was still worried about he may end up being, someone that Spurs want. Well, let's play a skeptical hypothetical situation. Let's say you get rid of Ange. Okay. It's a brave decision, but you get rid of Ange, right? And let's say you go for Thomas Frank, who's a guy that really loves Brentford and said that he wants to stay there. What happens if you don't get Thomas Frank? Iriola says he wants to go and stay at Bournemouth. So who the hell are you going to get? It'll end up being Farioli, who, hey, if you think Spurs are bottle jobs, this guy is going to fit us perfectly. Threw away the Eredivisie with 9 points ahead with 5 games to go. Not interested in Farioli personally. Just not interested. Gasperini, he's going to Atalanta. You're not going to get Gasperini. Allegri's going to AC Milan. I'm just thinking of Fabio Parati's wet dreams, by the way. He's going to AC Milan. They'll be talking about Thiago Motta because he's free. They'll talk about Xavi because he's free. Too many things that I'm sort of worried about, to be honest. Glasner, I think Glasner will be staying at Palace. Again, he's taking Palace into Europe. It's a phenomenal achievement. So I think he'll be staying there. Ange isn't sacked. No, I'm just talking about the conflicting reports that he may be / may not be. Why Frank never got higher than 9th or won anything? I mean, it is Brentford. Are you expecting him to get into Europe with Brentford? If he did, it's a phenomenal achievement. Brentford aren't that sort of club. Brentford make Brighton look like humongous spenders, barring last summer. Humongous spenders because they don't really spend money. It's about coaching, it's about developing and cashing in so you keep the club funded. That's what it's about. I don't know. I don't want Terzic. Of all of them, that might be my least. I'd rather Marco Silva than Terzic. He is a guy who alienates star players. He's a guy that alienates boards and chief executives. He's been. Well, let's talk about it. For people that go, Jed Spence had an attitude issue. Who else we linked to that? Cherky has attitude issues. Terzic has attitude issues. We've got to we're going to play that game. We've got to play this game over here. For me, not interested in Terzic. I know some people might like him, but yeah, no, I don't want Terzic. Yeah, again, with the Ange being sacked thing, it's not coming from a great source. So they're probably putting out there, hoping they get it right, and therefore they can use that to go, hey, we are credible. Hey, we are smart. But no, it's one of the worst sources you can use. It's one of the worst sources. It's like a tier 3, isn't it, or something like that? No decision has been made on Ange's future. We're talking hypotheticals. There's no decision made on Ange's future. No decision made. Fazmate, how are you? Silva's rumoured to Inter Milan. Well, I mean, look, Inzaghi hasn't gone yet. It's not guaranteed that Inzaghi's leaving. Inzaghi may use the Saudi rumours to get himself a much better contract, so it's not guaranteed there. Again, though, Inzaghi may end up. I mean, look, he's getting like a 5 times pay rise. I think he's on like 5 million euros yearly with Inter. So if you're being offered 25 million a year, there's a few reasons why you might end up moving. I think it's Al Hilal who looks like they're looking to sign a Nana and Osman as well. So yeah, Spurs would have to offer about 20 million, I think, to get him. Because I think he'd probably take a little bit less to go to Spurs, but it would have to be 20 million. And that's more than we've ever paid for any manager. So I can't see that. Especially also, this is a situation in terms of sacking managers. Spurs paying off managers is, they sacked Mourinho for a cup final because the payout for sacking him was cheaper than if they sacked him after winning the final. So yeah, it's not going to happen, in my opinion. It's not going to happen. No chance of signing Sane. Nah, that's what I said earlier. What are the best sources? What, Fabrizio and David Ornstein are the two main names in football reporting. They are the two main names across all of football. And by the way, people are allowed to get things wrong. I think people get too bent out of shape. Like, he got this thing wrong once. And it's like, yeah, that kind of happens. Football things can change in a matter of minutes. But they are the two main names. The two main names, It's a bad source, Jeremy. Yeah. Bro, tell what is best for Spurs to sign this season. 5 names. Well, Eze's a great start. Well, look, right. In terms of the best names, doesn't mean there's a chance you're going to sign them all. Best names is just the best names in the positions that we're hunting for. So, for example, Eze, Mark Guay, probably at centre back. Wharton, you're not signing all 3 of those, but they're the best 3 probably there. Don't know really, actually. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. We'll be buying players that none of us are thinking about right now. Appreciate it, Dente, mate. Yeah, I mean, look, bunch of you on your Sunday mornings kicking back and relaxing, chilling with me and chatting football, 130 of you here. You're absolute bloody legends. Ange hasn't faced Douay. Douay hasn't faced Ange. You could go the other way, Ben Jacobs is pretty good too. Ben Jacobs, I think, is like maybe the next tier of like names, maybe even a tier after. Paul O'Keefe is good, Obviously, there's that whole, is he a mole, is he not a mole situation. But aside from that, he is a good source. He does have connections inside the club. There's quite a few of them, actually, in and around the Spurs stratosphere that are half decent, Should we sell Richarlison? Yes, we should. We should have sold Richie 3 summers ago. Still is a good player. Hey, Peter, how are you? Sunday night. Well, all right. Okay. Let's leave it out, Stephen Paul. God. Still is a good player. Yeah, very good player. I do like him, but I think he's going to go to Bayern. There's a thumbs up. You're welcome. Listen, mate, how are you? Look, there's quite a bit there, to be honest. They've made no decision on Ange. Before someone gets a little bit, they've made no decision on Ange, okay? So before anyone gets worried or thinks they're going to, they've made no decision on Ange, okay? But it does kind of look like because the market... Al Hilal want Bruno and Barella. Sorry, lads, what? Yeah, no decision we made until this week. So just hold your horses, as they say. If we sell Richie, he'll never have major again. You watch. No, look, it wouldn't shock me. He's always been someone that does get a few injuries here and there. But I just think it's, when we talk about Davies and it's the right time. This is another one of those that's the right time. Bissouma, it's another one. Bissouma, it's the right time. You know, if there's cash flow issues at Spurs, you know, you're going to sell Solomon. I'd expect to get a few quid out of Brian Hill's deal. Richie Basuma, you know, you move off of Davies. Yeah, loan deals. You get money out of loan deals as well. Like, you know, there won't be cash flow issues this summer. There won't be. You know, I like Luca. I wish we could have Luca back, but that won't happen. We need Eze and Buemo, Gomez, Retegui, and Hato. Jesus Christ, Musa, you are going for it in that window. Look, I like Mbuemo. I do. I feel like Mbuemo ends up at Newcastle, though. You know, probably going to pay. They're probably going to pay him more. He's going to play regularly because they need a right winger. You know, and a Gordon, Isaac, and Mbuemo front three is very solid, very very solid. So I think he'll end up at Newcastle. I know Man United want him, but Man United probably will end up needing to sell quite a few players to provide the funds to do it because of obviously all the debt they have. So yeah, I think he'll end up at Newcastle because I think Newcastle will try and pounce on that early. You know, I still think Eze is the guy that Spurs will be focusing on most this summer. I hope it is at least as well. But I think Eze is going to be the guy that Spurs are going to focus on mostly this summer. And I've said it before. I will say it again. If you want Eberechi Eze this summer, you must get in there and get to Palace before they sell Mark Guay. We know that Mark Guay has interest from Newcastle's. He has interest from Bayern Munich's. You need to get in early because if you do get in early, they're more likely to negotiate on his release clause and the structure of payments. If they sell someone, they won't need to sell, so therefore they'll go, but if you want him, here's his release clause, you pay the release clause, you know? So there you go. Nothing on Valise, nothing really other than yesterday. Is it Sean? Okay, there you go. No, well, Valise does have interest. Rosario. Rumors are out that Eze and Mbuemo are on the cards close to signing. Not seeing anything personally. We actually need a right winger and Johnson as substitute, Madders and Kulu as cam. Well, they're looking to add in at winger as well as striker. Again, I also have like the mindset of, you know, again, look at hypotheticals. Ange is a state, right? So players all know Ange Ball, but they'll be able to develop over the summer, right? Transfer wise, you know exactly what you need. You don't need to sell players. You don't need to, you don't need to analyze and think, oh, what players I want to keep. You're already going to know, and you already know. And I think players like Odebear will take a leap. Tell, Danso, Bergval, Gray, all take another leap. But if you move off of the manager, like this is what I've said, you know, and people have very much like misconstrued my words. I'll say it so clearly that you cannot muck up. And if you do muck up, it's just more about you than anything. A new manager comes in, he's got to teach a system. No one manager is the same as the other with their systems, right? If you're going to get an Inzaghi, you can tell there's a massive difference in system. It's a 4-3-3 to a 3-5-2. It's a huge change. Players are going to need time. Manager's going to need time to see what he's working with. Manager's going to need time in terms of who wants to sell, what he needs to add. So what I'm saying is you would need to just be patient with transfers. So if you do want a new manager, at the same time, you cannot demand early transfer business. Unless, and if they do early transfer business, that should worry you more than keep you happy because it shows they're not supplying the manager, they're supplying the club. And club signings are a real issue at Spurs, in my opinion. Last summer, massive evidence of club signings. Now, the irony is ended up working out at the back end of the season, but the damage was hugely done. This summer isn't about buying 4 18-year-olds. This summer is about buying 4 experienced 21 to 25-year-olds ready to develop and add to the squad. As much as as much as people do not want him, right? I always use it as a great example because there's so much information on it. But Garnacho, right? We were linked to Garnacho. And before someone goes, I don't want Garnacho, it isn't about that. It's just the example of him. He's 20, 21. He's played over 150 times for Manchester United. That's a lot of experience. He's got international football. He's got European football. That's what Ange's talking about. Ange's not talking 27, 28, 29-year-olds. He's talking about players who have played quite a bit of top flight football, regardless of their age, because that is the example of experience. So think of it this way. A guy could be 26 and played 150 games in the Premier League, and a guy could be 21 and play 150 games in the Premier League. They're just the same level of experience in top flight football, are they not? If you get rid of their ages, one's played 150, one's played 150. They've got the same level of experience on paper. So that's what I'm saying. It's not always going to be players that we're after that's 27, 28, 29. It'll be 20 to 25-year-olds, but have got a couple of seasons of top flight football under their belt at least. There is the evidence of experience, which is what this group needs. This group needs 4 to 5, first team squad players to come in, hit the ground running. João Felix is not going to end up at Spurs. He's not going to end up at Spurs. Good Lord, no. Garnacho, good for us, not going to lie. We need more English players. Well, that's why I think Spurs are going to add in a couple of English players at least. Or even use some of the boys out on loan that are English players. Heads up as well, by the way, I will start releasing shorts of some of the transfer topics we cover. There's a lot of you that put comments in the live chat, and I miss them because there is quite a few of you chatting. I do miss them. It's not I'm ignoring you. I just can't see every single comment. I blame all of you for coming in and watching me and commenting. It's all your fault. God. So I will release shorts where you can comment directly against the short and you can tell me your views and I can respond to you there and then as well. All right. So I will get to you. There's posts out every day on the channel as well that you can respond to and let me know your thoughts and views. I will get to you that way. All right. So don't worry. I'm not ignoring you on purpose. Even in the Discord, I'm not ignoring people in the Discords. I get hundreds of comments a day. So I do try and get to everyone. All right. Sometimes I'm just a little bit delayed. I like Spurs, me out. Yeah, Steve out, Andy out. Get him gone. Disgusting. How dare they? Paulinho's, I think, too old now. 29. I think Sane's too old for what we should be doing, but doesn't mean that's going to stop us, is it? Wenger out. Yeah, Wenger out. There'll be some loan options with options to buy, maybe. Yeah. Maybe, yeah. Maybe. I'm not scared of PSG, but I'm scared of my friend. He's a PSG supporter, and if they beat us, I'm going to get the stick from him. It's called football banter, my friends. If you dish it, you've got to be willing to accept it. And if you're willing to accept it, you by all means, let rip, let it go. We club train. Well, club train's going to be an issue. It's going to be an issue. I'm not getting a KA drink. After that last one, that is disgusting. That last KA drink was one of the worst things I've ever tasted. I had a two sips of it, and I poured it away. The whole thing, awful. I will never forget how bad that was. It was like it's awful dark purple color. I was Cunha. So Man United signing Cunha and their chance targets feel like they won the European. Well, again, Amorim's staying, so they can act on Amorim, can't they? Whereas Spurs, not knowing who the manager is, it's harder to start moving if you don't know. So there you go. Is Pascal Chombonda available? Terrible. Fans with a super chat. How many decent signings we need to challenge for the title? Jesus Christ, mate. By the way, first and foremost, legend for the super chat. Absolute legends. How many decent signings? God, mate. 7 or 8 at least. We lack the quality of depth. That's our big issue. I think the starting 11 is competitive, but we lack the quality of depth. So yeah, minimum 7 to 8. Minimum 7 to 8. We're not going there, Marshall. I'll get demonetized for swearing. I'll be on the bottled water in a bit. Yeah, haven't got one with me. The owners, they're the ones that got the money, they make the decisions. Got to work with it, you know. Lost news saying Ange could be sacked. Apparently, I've already talked about Silva. Don't want him. Don't want Farioli. Frank, out of the three of those, Nikhil, I'd want out of the three of them. You think 4? Interesting. There you go. But yes, so I will be releasing shorts daily, posts daily. So keep an eye out. Hit the bell notification so you just see it when it all goes live. I don't need to tell you when I'm going live. It would just be like, boom, there's a video. Boom, we're going live. All right. I feel like John Madden there. Boom. So yeah, there you have it. If you want to join the Discord, by the way, I'll invite you in there. You're more than welcome to join us. My only warning is be wary of Jazz. It's like the marshal. It's the leader of the Discord world. All right, so be careful. But you're free to join. It doesn't cost you a penny. I'm not charging you to join. All right. Will I be able to respond to you there and then? It's not always guaranteed. All right. But yes, what we'll do is I'll be putting some stuff out a little bit later today on the channel. I will also start recording a video on Johan Lang's time at Aston Villa, going through his incomings, his outgoings, the things that he did. So if you've missed it, about earlier this week or last week, I did a video on Fabio Paratici and his time at Juventus in charge, not when he joined, but when he was running the ship. Okay. So it's about, I don't know, 2.5-year window or 3-year window, something like that. I will be doing the same thing, but with Johan Lang at Aston Villa whilst he was running Aston Villa, to give you an idea of what they're both about before they joined Spurs. I think a lot of people maybe don't know or didn't know much about them before they joined Spurs. I always thought we worked on Paratici and got him in from like a coup. We stole him from Juventus. Juventus were like, mate, you're leaving. We're done with you. And then Spurs took him. So I wanna look into both of those. All right. Talked about pitch side, mate. So yes, I'm probably just have a quick little look if there's anything else I need to care about. I mean, yeah, there's more talks about Spurs with Dibbling. Southampton got a 55 million valuation. Great. Let's not go near that one then. Just go and get Brian Mbeumo for pretty much the same price. Lancashire, I think will go out on loan, mate. He'll go out on loan. But we will see. Barcola, I can't see Barcola leaving PSG. No way. No way. I like Barcola a lot, by the way. I think he's brilliant, but no way. You love my Paratici special. Well, thanks very much. It was actually felt like I was a reporter, a news reporter. So yeah, Johan Lang, I'll be doing that today, doing my research, creating the video, and maybe it'll be out tonight for the members. It'll probably be out tomorrow for the non-members, for them to watch it. So if you want to become a member, just join. You'll see it. It goes up, all right? But there you have it. We'll go near Dibbling. We need Blaber. That's a 6. He's also going to be costing about 100-odd million. How about Due, whom we didn't sign? Must be nice. Nkunku is still being linked. Yes, we need to bolster defense. We will. Sarav, we will. But look, thank you all so much for joining me this morning. Go and enjoy the rest of your mornings, your afternoons, your evenings, wherever you are in the world. I'm going to be releasing some shorts and obviously working on the Johan Lang video for the members tonight. Take care, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your days, and I'll see you all very, very soon. Take care, everyone. Peace.